Hey guys, welcome back to World of Tanks. My name is Bruce and today I want to give you my final opinion about the Toro, the newest tier 9 Italian premium heavy tank. Let's go. So in this video I want to give you my final opinion about this tank, about the Toro. So what is this tank all about? Well, in my opinion, one of the strengths of this tank is its firepower. This tank features an autoloader gun. It only has, or it can only offer 360 alpha damage. However, it has a 4-shot auto reloader gun. I should be a little bit more precise. Now, having an auto reloader is always great and always gives your tank a certain amount of flexibility. This tank features 8 degrees of gun depression, so you actually can play hull down. And if you use your 8 degrees of gun depression, then your huge cupola, this cupola right here, disappears. So this is how you can make this tank work if you use your 8 degrees of gun depression. Now 8 degrees is not the best value per se, but it is workable. This tank is not the best side scraper either, unfortunately, due to this weak spot right here. So no matter how good you side scrape, no matter how good you angle your tank, you will get penetrated, at least if your opponents know where to shoot. And this is exactly where they should shoot, because this is the weak spot right here. Now this tank is relatively fast for a heavy tank. However, the mobility is nothing out of the ordinary. 49 kph top speed, but only because I use a turbocharger. So in my opinion, this is the equipment you should use, simply because it's the strength of a tank and you should exploit the strength rather than trying to decrease the weaknesses of a tank. I play this tank with improved hardening in order to boost the HP pool of the tank. And then I use WoT steps simply because the gun handling is relatively poor and relatively lackluster. I can reach 0.33 dispersion, which is fine. However, the aim time is 2.28 and also the dispersion values of the tank are far from being good. So with this setup, I want to show you what this tank is all about and give you my final conclusion about this new tier 9 premium heavy tank. Alright, first game in the Toro. We are spawning on Cliff in a tier 10 matchup. However, we are mid tier and this is what you usually see in a tier 9 tank. So the benefit of this tier is that you are actually never ever really low tier in a -2 matchmaking, because there's only tier 10 above you, right? Alright, so the Toro. What do you think about this tank? Well, to begin with, the Toro has a very high skill cap, simply because it has so many deficiencies. But in this game we want to try to make this tank work, and so on Cliff I like to go to the middle to see what is going on. Now, of course, I do not want to brawl frontally with the Object 705 Alpha, nor do I want to brawl hull down against the Rhinoceronte, and certainly also not against the 7032. There's one light tank in the game, and there is no... We're spotted. There's one artillery in the game. So, let's see how it goes. I want to go here. Looks like the Rhinoceronte is going to the middle, which is good. And I want to reverse my tank. Okay. 7032 is looking towards my direction. Is facing me, yeah. So I do not want to take a shot from this tank. That's for sure. Looks like this tank is reloading and he is focusing this position right here, so that's not good and that's not what we want to see. Now looks like the object 705 Alpha is going to the 9 lane, and look at what the Conqueror tank is doing. That is extremely painful for our team. But that's how it is, and that's what we have to live with. Okay, this tank is falling back. And you know what? Maybe... yeah, we can get a shot onto the Rhinoceronte. However, he can in return get a shot onto us. And I would like to help out the object 752. However, I do not want to brawl against the object against the object 705 Alpha. So that is my problem. However, I think we need to help this tank, except if the Emil 2 is able to crush. Yeah, the Emil 2 is able to crush this tank, so we need to evade out of this situation. He's taken out. That was foreseeable. And now let's go into a position out of which we can try to get a shot onto those tanks. Now we need to make our 8 degrees of gun depression work in this tank. That's a problem that this tank has. I wouldn't call it a problem, but 8 degrees of gun depression is not, you know, not the most insane value. So let's see how it goes. STB1 is in a hull down location. Nice. So this is good because he cannot be taken out, maybe apart from the artillery. Bounce this shot, which is fine. But now maybe I can take another shot onto those tanks. So an auto reloading tank gives you a lot of flexibility, which is good in any case. However, the problem is you cannot use intuition on an auto reloading tank, you know, just like you can on any other auto loading tank. So the problem is, if I would now use intuition in order to switch to the premium ammunition, okay, I slept, then the problem is that I would get a benefit only for reloading my very first shell of the premium ammunition clip. So that is the problem that I have. So for the Toro and its insanely bad DPM, this means that right from the get-go, basically, you have to decide whether you want to play this game with heat, with your premium ammunition, or with your standard ammunition. So that is the problem that you have in this tank. And it's a, you know, it's a huge deficiency. It's a huge deficiency that you have compared to other tanks. He has now used his medkit. And we need to be aware of the Centurion 7-1. But he should hopefully take shots from the Super Conqueror once he is in this position. So that's a huge deficiency of the... I will soon take a shot from those tanks. Yep, so I need to evade out of this situation. So hopefully those tanks can take a shot onto the object 703. Okay, only one shot onto this tank. unfortunately. But artillery is helping me out. Excellent. That's what I want to see. Nice. And so, all of a sudden, we could actually help our team to win this game with a very smart positioning of ourselves. And you know what? Even if he takes a shot onto me, I have enough HP to trade. And those tanks have fallen back, which is excellent. So now I want to advance. So another huge problem of this tank is its lackluster armor. Yes, it does have some armor, but you know, in World of Tanks, the problem very often is that, you know, having a bit of armor is not enough. You either need superior armor or you need no armor in order to have a decent speed, you know. That's the better choice. So yeah, all in all, a decent game in the Toro. 2.7k damage and 1.7k assisting. Now, one thing we need to talk about is whether this tank makes credits or not. So in this game, we made 2.7k damage and 1.8k assisting damage. So overall about 4.5k combined. And this is a very decent result for the Toro. Now, with my boost and with my premium time and with shooting no premium ammunition whatsoever, I made 214,000 credits. So this tank can make credits. The biggest problem of this tank is its performance. And so as this is a very extraordinary game, this doesn't happen a lot. And so very often you will make less credits simply because the performance of the tank doesn't allow for making such an amount of damage and such a game. So, but nonetheless, as a credit maker, it is okay as long as you do not have to, you know, shoot too much premium ammunition, and as long as you can get a decent result, which, and then of course, it's a tier 9 tank, so it has the best matchmaking overall in World of Tanks, which is a strength, but overall, due to the fact that the performance of this tank is lackluster, this kind of equals out a little bit. Alright, second game in the Toro, and this time we are in a low tier situation in a exclusive tier 10, tier 9 matchup, so we are low tier. But first of all, let me come back to the point that I made at the end of the first game. So due to the fact that the hull is super weak, except if you're using your 8 degrees of gun depression, and due to the fact that you have this huge weak spot and also this huge weak spot, the armor of the tank is really lackluster. And this is a huge limiting factor for this tank. Now, I do not want to brawl against a Badger, against an FV, against an Object 268, against two E75s. I do not want to brawl against a Tiger Mouse. And so I want to support my tanks on the medium flank. There's a platoon of DZT-159, so they should most likely play super aggressively. And I will load only standard ammunition because I think I can pen the light tanks as well as the GSO tanks when they are playing on this flank. So let's see how it goes. I want to advance, but I need those tanks to play aggressively because otherwise I'm not in a good shape. Now, another problem is of this tank is, of course, it's a heavy tank, but this tank has a really bad camo value, and so I mean, you cannot play vision games with any heavy tank, but this tank is extremely bad. So in this situation, I cannot go into a bush and try to, you know, outspot one or another tank. Due to the fact that I have those weak cheeks, I cannot put myself into a side scraping position because my tank is simply too weak. So that's a problem of this tank. And I think this building is in my way, so that's the problem. That's the problem that I have. Now I'm thinking of going into the trench, the ditch. Now the problem is, yeah, we need to make pressure because otherwise, that's the tiger mouse. Okay. Nice. So we could take out the tiger mouse, which is nice. Now I want to see that I'm not spotted anymore. And then I will go down into the ditch. Now the tier 10 Polish tank destroyer is falling back. And so I think it's my time to now push down into this ditch. I want to go to the middle in order to shoot onto one or another tank which is playing in the middle. I can use this time in order to reload my clip. And see this gun handling, it's so bad. This gun handling is so bad. That's a real problem of this tank. Nice. Now, maybe if the object falls back, but I mean, we knew that the other team had a distinct brawling advantage right from the get-go, so maybe if the E75 reverses. But yeah, see, if I had a better tank with better armor, it would have been possible for me to brawl against all the other tanks and to do what my tank is actually supposed to be or supposed to do. But due to the fact that my tank has a lackluster armor, that's not an option for me. So, and that is very often in a game, it's a real hindrance for you. Simply because... Okay, we bounced this shot. Yeah, that's the downside of this tank. And so, I mean, if you've fired 2 shots of your shell, then the DPM drops to a insanely bad level. And so, yeah, it's simply, the tank overall is lackluster. So no question about it. I think they will now win the game, but we need to do something. So I want to advance in the middle, and let's see, they will now of course spot me. There's also the... Okay. There's the Polish TD chasing me. Yeah, okay. And I cannot pen him with my standard ammunition, and I also did not have enough gun depression in order to go, effectively shoot his lower plate. So yeah, I think this game was a decent result of the deficiencies of this tank. It's an auto-reloading heavy tank, but it is not very flexible. That's what I wanted to say, and I think this game was a good showcase. Of course, you can make a decent amount of credits because you have, a decent amount of damage in every game. Like, you can always make 1500 damage with an auto-reloading tank. But this tank is overall very unflexible, and this really limits this tank. And after the game, we'll try to see how much credits we were able to make with this game. So overall, we made 115,000 credits in this game. We actually were number 4 on damage even in this game, so our team did not perform well in this game. And we had 920 assisting damage, and so in this game we only made 86,000 credits. And this is also including the personal reserve bonus and also the holiday ops bonus. So as you can see, as soon as your performance drops, this tank does not make too many credits. And that is what I told you earlier in this video. That is basically the problem of this tank. I wouldn't go so far to say that it is per se, you know, concerning stats, a bad credit maker. However, due to the fact that the performance of the tank is lackluster, it's not the best credit maker, because for making credits you need a tank which can make credits, but then also a tank which has good performance. And so this tank is too lackluster for being a good credit maker. And last but not least, Toro in a top tier situation, in a tier 9, tier 8 game. Now the very first question for this tank is, where do you want to go? And as much as I like to play in this position, in my opinion the Toro is not suited well for playing on this flank, unfortunately. First of all, in my opinion, it's not fast enough. It's not a medium tank. It's a fast heavy tank, but it's not a medium tank, and so this tank is not fast enough to play in this position. However, of course, if my whole team goes to this position, then things are looking differently. So I tell my teammates to reverse, because after all, if there's no tank whatsoever playing in on the left hand side, then why should we go to this position, right? So let's see what we can do. Now the problem that we have is, of course, as we are so late crossing this portion right here, we need to be cautious, and I will try to apply a trick, and I will try to turn my tank now rapidly. Here you go. I didn't take a shot, nice. In order to bounce a shot if I would take a shot. So I will play alongside with my tanks and try to help them to make pressure, because you always need to help your team, you know, to make pressure. So let's see how it goes. Okay, Tiger Mouse is a very dangerous tank. And nice, we can kill this tank. Excellent. And so, yeah, looks like our team is super aggressively pushing out on one flank, and so of course we need to hurry up in order to make damage. This is actually a decent result, and the reason why I want to show you this battle, because the game is so fast. Oh, do not stop me, do not block me, please. No, I will take a shot. We can take him out. Excellent. Okay, perfect. The game is happening so fast, so I can show you, you know, the flexibility skills of this tank, because sometimes games are happening pretty fast, and so then in such games, you know, you want to be the tank which is able to... Nice, we try to track him in order to get some assisting damage. You want to play a tank which is flexible enough, you know, to catch up with all those tanks, so that, you know, you can make damage. sniping capabilities of the tank. Nice. So overall, what do I think about this tank? Well, I would go so far to say that it is, you know, if it was a single shot tank, I would go so far to say that it is the worst tier 9 tank in the worst tier 9 heavy tank in the game. The auto reloading feature kind of prevents it from, you know, being the worst tank. However, it's really not a good tank. Should you purchase this tank? No, absolutely not. I really do not think that this tank is worth any credits. There are so many better tanks in the game. And once again, I really think that you should not play this tank. So yeah, spend your money on any other tank whatsoever, but not for this tank. It's simply too lackluster. It has too many flaws, too many deficiencies, and it's not worth it. It's not a real heavy tank. You cannot brawl with this tank. It's not a medium tank. You cannot play vision games whatsoever in this tank. And the gun trolls. The gun handling is very poor. It has a very low alpha. And so overall, it's not really a decent tank. So in the last game, we only made 79,000 credits, but we only made 768 damage due to the fact that our team simply crushed over the adversary team. And so, yeah, in this instance, for example, then of course you do not make such an amount of credits as we could see in the first game. So yeah, overall this tank is, it's actually too unflexible, even though it has an auto reloading gun. But as I said, I do not think that this is a good tank. I think it will soon drop down to one of the worst tier 9 heavy tanks. And I have to say that I started playing this tank with, you know, some happiness, some joy, but this really changed throughout the battles. Yes, you can have decent results like in our first game that I showed you, but usually this tank has so many flaws, so many deficiencies that it really hinders you to get a decent result. So overall, in my opinion, I would certainly not purchase this tank, basically because it is simply way too weak. Alright guys, that was it for today with my final thoughts about the Toro. What do you think about this tank? Do you agree that it is really weak? How do you perform playing against it? And do you think that it is a good credit maker or not? Just leave a comment in the comment section down below. And as always, if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. This really helps out with the YouTube algorithm. If you find this video extremely helpful, then feel free to support me via Super Thanks. This way you can make a one-time donation. You just have to click this button underneath the video. If you adore this channel and you want to consistently support me, then consider subscribing to my channel or become a member, once again with the click of a button underneath the video. Thanks a lot, and I see you next time in another World of Tanks video.